Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Washington, D.C. We're in the finals. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Hall of Famer Ben Stark, and we've got Yuuya Watanabe versus Mike Sigrist here. And an interesting matchup. Both players are playing blue, though they have different side colors. One of them being red for Mike, as you can see here with his turn 2 Mogus's Warhound. He's up against Yuuya, who's on black-blue. Heavy black deck here, too.
Yeah, Yuuya I wouldn't necessarily call blue. He's probably got 4 total blue cards.
Right.
You saw Siggy's deck in action last round. I haven't seen Siggy really play yet. I caught the end of Game 3 against Calcano in the quarterfinals.
Okay. Here's Cast into Darkness on the Mogus's Warhound, so that thing's going to get blocked at some point, but in the meantime, it's not going to be doing much damage. Mike, on the other hand, he's got, I would call it like a tricky deck. You know, he's got, you can see he's got in his hand there, he's got the Triton Cavalry to bounce some enchantments when he needs to do that, and I saw him, he was able to do that multiple times. And it looks like he's going to suck it up here, play the Rollicker, and just get in for 1 damage. Oh.
Yeah, I don't think he loves that option. I just don't think he had any other options because he's stuck on 2 mana.
Right, stuck on 2 mana is the name of the game here. Yuuya Watanabe currently ranked 11th on the top 25 pro rankings. Plays his 3rd mana, but then just doesn't do anything.
Yeah, Yuuya looks to have another land in hand and a bunch of spells. His deck's not really the fastest. Okay, I think I can see the old Eater of Hope in there.
Perhaps not the ideal bomb, but it can clean up board states after the dust is settled.
And then like maybe a Sip of Hemlock, a Marsh Mist Titan. I mean, Yuuya's deck is pretty good, but it's definitely not the fastest deck. This could be interesting if Yuuya has Feast of Dreams, because if he feasts the Warhound, he's just going to be facing 2 1/1s, but that's still 2 points of damage. And if he's taking it right now, it's 2 points of damage.
Right.
So he's not very motivated to feast it, but also, I mean, it's a 2/4, so I don't know that he can stop it without feasting it. It's kind of an interesting decision for him. I guess there's no real reason to do it until he could at least stop the 1/1s.
Right. Because this way Mike must attack, right? Like he can at least reserve the option of having it run into something bigger like a Marsh Mist Titan or something along those lines.
Right, and he wouldn't even be saving any damage because it would be 2 damage either way.
Exactly. So. Speaking of Marsh Mist Titan.
I thought that guy cost the Cast into Darkness.
Of course, the Cast into Darkness lets him get into play right now, which is fantastic. Now it's a 4/5. And that Mogus's Warhound could run right into it here, as Sigrist has not found that 3rd land, and it's been a few turns now. You see that Yuuya Watanabe's not only got 5 lands, but he's also casting 7 drops, but Hubris is going to rewind that right back to his hand here.
And that's why he saved the Feast, because you know he has a guy that can eat the 2/4, so there's absolutely no reason whatsoever to spend a premier removal spell on it, even a situational one like Feast.
Yeah, and especially leaving him with 2 1/1s that just aren't going to do much. And Yuuya Watanabe is just going to replay. He's going to go Groundhog Day on the last turn here and rerun out Marsh Mist Titan, ship the turn back. I mean, Sigrist is doing everything he can, but even with 3 cards all on 1 down there, it's still just only 2 power total. Yuuya Watanabe's at 13. And here's the 3rd land now for Sigrist. Now, I see that he's got some decent stuff here. Mogus's Warhound's going to get blocked, but Hour of Need is going to turn it into a 4/4 Sphinx. Now, is that a big problem for Yuuya here?
I mean, I don't really think so. I think he has a Sip in hand. I don't think he has land 6, but he's only 1 land away from that.
Okay.
I like Mike's play because in the event that you can't kill that, it's a way to win, you know? I mean, if you're Mike here.
I mean, is he in desperation mode here?
Yeah, I mean, he's on 3 lands, Yuuya's on 5. And it's not like Yuuya's super flooded or something, because we know Yuuya just missed a land drop last turn.
Yeah, so Yuuya has like 6 or 7 actual spells in hand.
Yeah, and 5 lands, which is almost perfect for limited.
Right.
So, I mean, if you're Mike, you're like, I'm going to make this 4/4 flyer and see if it can go the distance. You know, this is what I got.
Totally. All right, so here's Brain Maggot, though, from Yuuya. So we actually get a good look at Mike's hand, and he's got Storm Chaser Chimera, a Crowan Conscriptor. There's the Triton Cavalry. What else does he have?
The Fearsome Temper, which on the 4/4 flyer, you know, could be threatening, assuming Yuuya never finds that land.
Right, and then there's the Arbiter of the Ideal as well, which is pretty dead at this point. 6 drops are a long way off here for Mike Sigrist.
As you can see, Yuuya kind of sorted it by 5 and more, not looking at this. Oh, 4 drops and 3 drops? All right, let me decide whether I'm going to take this, you know, Storm Chaser or whether I'm going to take this Fearsome Temper, you know?
I like how he wrote it down. Did you see that? He wrote 3/2, 2/4, 2/3, 4/5. And then he wrote, you know, Fearsome Temper probably in Japanese, I think.
Yeah, I guess he'll, just by looking at the power and toughness, remember the card.
Yeah. And it was easier for him to write it down that way. Mike Sigrist is an old school Magic player. BDM said he was over there, and Sigrist's mom was over there. She was watching Huey play, and she said to ask him if he remembered her. He slept over at their place once, you know, had like a cool Magic, you know, sleepover before maybe a tournament or something like that. It's pretty cool.
Very cool. Yeah, both old school Boston guys, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he took Storm Chaser Chimera.
Right. And since he has the Feast of Dreams, he doesn't need to take the Fearsome Temper. It's weird, though. I mean, I'd probably go ahead and Nyxborn Infusion the 4/4 flying token. That would probably provoke Sigrist to Fearsome Temper it, and then you could just go ahead and feast it. And if he doesn't Fearsome Temper it, then it's only a 2/2, and then you've got the Blood Toll Harpy for next turn.
To trade?
Yeah, of course it's possible he'll just do it in the other order and just play the Blood Toll Harpy first.
Okay.
But if I'm Yuuya and my hand is this good, I'm trying to keep my life up as much as possible, I think.
Right.
So I think I like the Nyxborn Infusion first, but I can definitely respect the Blood Toll first. It's not much of a difference.
Okay. I mean, he ends up taking 2 more damage here. Is that the deal?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yuya's at 12, but Sigrist is also at 11 here, and Yuya's got pretty nice attacker there with the 4/5 Marsh Mist Titan that's getting in there.
Yeah, and he's got a monster hand because when he hits 6, he has Sip, and when he hits 7, he has Eater.
Right.
Which is why I kind of just want to preserve my life total if I'm Yuuya, because even though that play might be giving away a slight amount of value, the only way I can really see myself losing at this point is if I die with Sip and Eater in my hand.
Right.
Especially since I just saw Mike's hand. I mean, if Mike draws a land, it's not that scary. He's got a Triton Cavalry.
Right.
If he doesn't draw a land, the only card he has access to is Fearsome Temper.
Which you kind of want him to play.
Yeah.
Now, what are Mike's options here? He can put Fearsome Temper on Nyxborn Rollicker. Does that do anything for him? I guess it gets him in right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does plenty for him.
Attack for 7.
Right. And then you diversify your threats because the 3/3 has the ability to prevent things from blocking it.
Yeah, so it means that Yuuya doesn't get to keep his Marsh Mist Titan back to block. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But no, both of them are going to come in just as they are.
Well, he did draw the land. So, I mean...
Oh, he did?
Yeah, so he's just going to probably slap down his 4-drop, that Triton Cavalry.
Correct.
And then that guy with the ability to bounce enchantments is somewhat threatening, too, because we already know he has a way to target it. So, I mean, I like this play. Yuya's got to just take it. I mean, as much as I want to keep the life total up like we talked about, I mean, I don't think you're just going to chump the 4/4 flyer with Blood Toll Harpy here.
No.
I mean, you could. It wouldn't be out of the question. But, I mean, if we were going to do that, I would have probably just went with my play of Nyxborn Infusion on the 4/4 flying token.
On the Sphinx, yeah.
Yeah. The reason to play the Blood Toll Harpy would be to shorten the game, because you do want to end the game while Mike has cards in hand, too.
And there's Triton Cavalry. Post-combat. Doesn't really do a ton here, though. It doesn't block the Marsh Mist Titan effectively.
No, but you don't have to. You're still at 11.
Sure.
4, 6, 7, 9. So you can do 9 this turn if he sips, but he's not going to do that and leave himself just dead to the Fearsome Temper that he knows Siggy has.
Right.
So we're looking at a turn involving, you know, Feast and Nyxborn Infusion possibly.
Now, does Mike have any unknown cards in hand to Yuuya? He drew a land after the Brain Maggot. Was there any other cards, though?
No, because it's only been 1 turn, right?
Has it only been the 1 turn?
I don't know.
Because remember, he played the Blood Toll Harpy too. Did he play those both in the same turn?
I think last turn was Brain Maggot Blood Toll
All right,
Harpy.
then that means that Yuuya, you know, he knows exactly what he's up against. There's going to be 1 unknown card total.
Well, there's no unknown cards. You're saying next turn.
Next turn, there's going to be 1.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
So since Yuuya can't kill Mike this turn, what are the things he's thinking about? Like, is he thinking about, like, threaten effects here?
Yeah, that's what he should be thinking about. He's got to make sure he's only at 7, and he's got a great hand. He's just got to make sure that he doesn't accidentally die.
Okay. Looks like Yuuya wants to leverage his attack force here, as he's going to potentially take 6 life out of Mike Sigrist's life total. Yeah. That's over half here.
Yeah, and this play makes me think post-combat he's just going to sip the Spirit.
Okay. Or sip the Sphinx?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
It's a Sphinx.
It's a Sphinx, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Sphinx down, drops Mike down to 3, and takes away the bulk of his offense as well. Brain Maggot's the only thing left back for Yuuya, who's tapped out here. But
yeah, this is a tough game for Mike to win. I mean, if he drew Coordinated Assault, he'd actually have lethal. He can bounce the Brain Maggot with Triton Cavalry's ability.
Right.
Well, and it doesn't have to be coordinated assault. Any pump spell. If he drew a Titan Strength, he could win the game. Basically anything like that. I don't know what he drew. Can we see it? Is it a
I mean,
card?
Yuuya's at 7 here, right?
Right. The problem is if he puts the Fearsome Temper on the Cavalry and doesn't 5, 5 isn't 7, you know
exactly,
what I mean?
That's the problem here.
I mean, he does have the option to put it on the Cavalry and deal him 4, and then have the Reveler back to chump the Marshmist Titan. The 2 from the Blood Toll Harpy would only put Sigrist to 1, and then the Cavalry, he could use the ability on with the Fearsome Temper on it to make something unable to block it be lethal. I mean, it's not going to lethal Yuuya like that, because you just leave 2 blockers up. But then Yuuya can't even necessarily attack if he has to leave 2 blockers up. I mean,
this seems pretty reasonable given the game that Mike Sigrist has gone through here, where he's barely even gotten to 4 mana.
Yeah, I don't know what he drew this turn, so I don't know if he drew anything that would change that. I can't see
Did he draw a second Fearsome Temper? Can't really see it either.
Yeah. It looks like he'll probably do something along the lines of what I just said. He could also just hold that Triton Cavalry back since it's blocking Marshmist Titan. I don't think I like that because, I mean, prolonging this game I don't think is where Siggy wants to be with a Fearsome Tempered ground creature. I know he has spells in hand too, but if he draws a land and...
Oh, I think he drew Ordeal of Perforos.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and he does make the attack. I like this play. This is what I would do if I were Siggy. And I guess he's going to lose to the Nyxborn Infusion. Oh, no, he can't. It doesn't kill an enchantment creature.
That's right, but he's got
Feast
of Dreams,
too. Yeah,
right? And that does kill an enchantment creature. And we're going to scoop him up and go to game 2. Yuuya Watanabe takes down the first game here in the finals at DC.
And even though I knew Yuuya had some of those cards, I guess, I kind of forgot because I was trying to play the game from Sigrist's perspective, because Sigrist doesn't know Yuuya's hand.
Right.
And I do like what Sigrist did there, because when you're back to the wall like that, you're not going to beat removal, you know what I mean? You're not really even thinking like that. Like, he just used his SIP. You're at this point, maybe he has some uncastable 7-drop or some land in hand or whatever. I mean, you don't think he's holding land from the way that game played, but you're not going to beat removal. It's just not going to happen, you know? So maybe if somehow the only card he has is 2 7-drops and a Nyxborn Infusion or something, then maybe Sigrist can win that game or something of that nature.
You can take a look at Yuuya, and we mentioned it before, Ben. Really unbelievable Grand Prix record. He's got 20 top 8s with 7 wins.
7 wins?
Yeah,
so
7
this could
wins.
be number 8?
This could be number 8 victories.
That's got to be the record.
Yuuya.
Has anybody won more Grand Prix than that?
I don't know.
Kai might have around 7.
Pro points, you can see in 2012, 2013, he had 65, a really impressive number. And 2013-14, he hit it right on the nose. He's going to have more from this and, of course, from the Pro Tour. But 45's the number for Platinum, so.
I mean, and Kai won 7 Pro Tours. I'm not sure how many Grand Prix. Probably about the same. I know he was a beast at getting first places, even in Grand Prix.
Yes. I think that Yuuya has a Kai-like conversion rate, at least in the same ballpark.
In Grand Prix, for sure.
In Grand Prix, right.
And I think 8 might be the record. I'm not 100%. Kind of unfortunate. If Sigrist had drawn like 1 more land that game, it would have been a really close game.
Even then, it looked pretty close, like a lot closer than I would have imagined.
Yeah, it was pretty close, to be honest. I mean, on board it was close, you know what I mean? With Yuuya packing Nyxborn Infusion and Feast of Dreams. Although Mike may have had outs or he may not have. I don't know if he has a Titan Strength or a Coordinate Assault. I mean, he needed one of those, one of the 1 red pump spells to be able to win the game on the last turn.
Right. Kind of insane that he was even in a position to do that. Given that it took him turn 7 or something. All right, so I just asked BDM. Ye old historian. Oh, he was already bringing us this stat. I wanted to ask him, like, what are we looking at for all-time GP victories? He's tied with Kai Bude right now.
Yeah.
On 7. So this is for the record.
That's
like, if he wins this, in fact, if he wins this next game, he will have number 8, and that is the most wins. And man, he's done it in a short period of time too. He's only been around for what, 5-6 years now, like at the pro level?
Yeah, he was a rookie in 2007.
2007 Rookie of the Year.
So,
interestingly, Shuhei Nakamura is on 6 down there too. Of the 2 active players out of the top 4, we've got Yuuya and Shuhei. We go down a little. Raphael Levy has 4 wins. Saito has 4 wins. There's a slew of people with 4. Right.
Yeah,
Luis Scott Vargas
William
on
Jensen
4.
sets the record for most GP top 8s in a season with 8. And Yuuya Watanabe a game away from setting the record with most GP wins with 8.
In his career, and not, I mean, it's not like he just shows up at a random GP and he's retired or whatever. No, this guy is in full, you know, platinum battle mode.
As far as I can remember,
nice
he's been
draw.
the highest level for 5-6 straight years. I mean, maybe level 7 one year or something.
Sure.
Very nice. Third place, tied for third place all time in GP top 8s, 21, and trying to get first all time away from Kai with 8 wins. And even though GPs are nowhere near as impressive as Pro Tours, they're still pretty. They're still a pretty big tournament, and I doubt that's a record Kai ever thought he would lose.
Yeah.
I mean, back when Kai got his 7th GP win, I don't think anybody else had more than like 4. Although I think Kai's PT win record is pretty safe.
Yeah, you know, one of the big differences, of course, being that we have a lot more, right? We have many more GPs to attempt to win now.
We do.
They're also harder to win with a lot more people and a lot better players in general around.
Yeah, and I think those kind of balance out.
Yeah.
I've been hearing that from people, oh, but there's so many more GPs now. But I used to play in GPs back then that had 300 players. I mean,
and they were all just...
Yeah, I played a GP in California once that had 180 players or something like that, I think. I mean, nowadays, GPs have 2,000 players.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a lot of extra rounds. So, I mean, I think that these GP top 8s and wins are pretty legit.
Okay. All right, so Storm Chaser Chimera for Mike Sigrist here is going to outclass the Blood Toll Harpy that Yuuya Watanabe has. And Sigrist is going to attack, but he's going to leave his man up. He's got another play, and it's a nice one. Prescient Chimera here is going to come down and really be able to attack and block nicely against the Blood Toll Harpy and kind of put it to Yuuya Watanabe here. This is a great start for Mike.
Yeah, because Yuuya's situational removal, if he has Nyxborn Infusion or Feast of Dreams, they're not looking too good right now. They don't really line up that well against 3 toughness, non-enchantment creatures.
Exactly, and Yuuya, I mean, he's got 7 cards in hand, and he just has to play Spiteful Returns. That makes that a 3-2, so he's looking to trade it off with the Chimera, but this is a moment where Mike Sigrist could really capitalize here if he can bounce it or steal it or maybe get a pump spell or just something to get through that Blood Toll Harpy.
Does Mike have anything in hand?
He's got Hour of Need, Nimbus Naiad, and I believe Arbiter the Ideal.
Oh, so this should be...
No.
Yeah, well, this should be a pretty easy turn for him then. I mean...
He's just going to slam the Naiad here?
Yeah,
or what?
no, I mean
the Arbiter?
Yeah, but I think that might be a Shipbreaker Kraken, not an Arbiter of the Ideal, but either way, I'm going to go ahead and attack with my 3/4 flyer and slap down my 6-drop.
Okay.
I mean, if Yuuya make him have the SIP. If he has the SIP, you're still ahead on board. You're dealing him 3 damage, and the next turn you can go ahead and Nimbus Naiad, the Storm Chaser.
Right.
So, I mean...
It becomes a tempo play, and you're right, it is a Shipbreaker Kraken as well.
No reason not to just, you know, press the board when you're ahead and save your tricks and removal.
And there it is, another must-answer spell here from Mike Sigrist, and his advantage is getting big. Now, it wasn't your traditional curve out, but the old 4-5-6 isn't too bad either when your opponent hasn't done much.
Well, he had a Magma Spray.
Mm-hmm.
We see a Magma Spray in the yard, so it's possible he would have fallen too far behind without that spray with a slow draw.
Fair.
But on the play with 1 Magma Spray, how far behind are you going to be?
Mm-hmm.
It looks like Yuuya has something off in the yard, maybe a Nyxborn Eidolon or something that was Magma Sprayed early.
Yeah, it's probably exiled, but sure. Tough spot for Yuuya Watanabe here. Just 1 game away from setting the record for most GP victories lifetime at 8.
Sometimes when
He's way behind.
Yeah, when you have a really good, really fast player like Yuuya in the tank, you know it's probably not looking too good for him.
Yeah. I mean, he's obviously got options. He has 6 cards in his hand and 5 mana, so he can do things, but...
But are those things going to stop a 6/6 and a 3/4 flyer and another flyer?
And another flyer that can get huge. All right, looks like he's just forced to play 2 bestow creatures, but not bestowed on anything. He's got a 2/2 and a 2/1 now.
Right.
And he's just basically trying to get the blockers up. But again, this just puts him in such a shaky spot as Mike can use any number of tricks or removal to get Yuuya here, though he doesn't have it.
No, I mean, if I'm Mike here, you know, that Nimbus Naiad is all right, but I'm probably just going to turn my creatures. because I know that Yuuya has Feast in his deck. I'm not going to put Nimbus Knight on Shipbreaker Kraken or anything like that.
You just don't want to open up the risk. We saw that in the round before when we saw a Leaf Crown Drad go on a Polukranos and get it feasted right out of here.
Right, and he has Hour of Need, and all of Yuuya's creatures are so much smaller. Like, I try and envision what's going to happen. Like, let's pretend Mike just attacks with those 3 creatures.
Okay.
What is Yuuya going to do? Nyxborn Eidolon's probably going to chump block Shipbreaker Kraken.
Right.
And he's going to be able to double block the Prescient Chimera and take the Falcon, or he's going to be able to trade the Blood Toll Harpy for the Falcon and take 9.
For the Chimera.
Or, I mean, and take 3 and lose the Eidolon, right. So, I can spare one of these flyers if I'm Mike, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I can leave up some mana, I can maybe use Scry once or leave up Hour Need mana, I can cast Nimbus Naiad, another flyer, I can hold Nimbus Naiad to possibly steal the win. You know?
Just to send like the Kraken into the air and just hit him for 8 or whatever.
Right, if he taps out again.
Sure. No, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I mean,
here,
it isn't unreasonable from the Nimbus Naiad the Falcon, since it's the only one that can be currently single block. So I definitely can understand that play also.
The Chimera, you mean?
No, not the Prescient Chimera. Is that other thing?
They're both Chimeras.
Sorry, I thought it was a Falcon. What is that one called on the end?
It's called Storm Chaser Chimera.
Storm Chaser Chimera. See, this play I don't like, because when you're already ahead this much, you don't want to open the door for things that can catch your opponent up. And if Yuuya was going to have to sip to catch up, Mike had Hour of Need, so he could lock up the game when Yuuya goes to sip.
Right.
Now Yuuya's going to be able to try and catch up with Feast, an instant on Mike's turn even, or on Yuuya's turn, either way. Yuuya's probably still going to lose the game, but if Yuuya's going to pull off that miracle comeback,
this was stage 1 for that?
Yeah, it involves something like Yuuya feasting Shipbreaker Kraken here.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. Maybe Mike thought that all through and realized that it would be close, but Yuuya would still be locked out even if he had Feast.
Sure.
Because this game does not look winnable for Yuuya.
Right.
But like I said, I feel like this opens a door. I feel like now Yuuya can trade the Blood Toll Harpy for the spell.
Storm Chaser Chimera.
Storm Chaser Chimera. I feel like now Yuuya's play is going to be to trade the Blood Toll Harpy for that and chump block the Shipbreaker Kraken with the Nimbus Naiad. He's only taking 3 damage. Then he has a 2-mana spell, Feast of Dreams, that kills Shipbreaker Kraken.
Now, do we know if he has it in his hand, by the way?
I think I saw it.
Okay, I'm just curious. I know we can even speak about this theoretically, though.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, from last game, from Mike's perspective, I was talking as though he could win, and then Yuuya had the removal that we already knew he had, so that the game was over. Because I'm not going to play the game as though I know what Yuuya has here from Mike's perspective, you know what I mean?
Totally.
But the thing is, Mike knows Yuuya has Feast of Dreams in his deck. He saw it last game.
Right.
So I'm not going to open up the door for something like that. When I'm this far ahead, I'm not going to put Nimbus Naiad on Shipbreaker Kraken and open that door for Yuuya. I mean, imagine if Yuuya, like, if he kills that Shipbreaker Kraken now on Mike's turn, the Naiad can't even attack because he'll do it in combat or whatever. He's facing 3 damage now, and then he gets to untap again.
Right.
I mean,
here's Yuuya attacking for 5.
Yuuya's still a dog in this game, but I feel like Mike could have probably made a play that would have left Yuuya a lot more locked out of the game, you know?
Okay. Well, let's see if Yuuya can come up with it here. There's the Feast of Dreams that you mentioned. It's in his hand. And he's got a Nimbus Naiad as well. And like you said, he's going to go ahead and let Mike do whatever on his turn here. That does open the door for the Hour of Need to come in and at least get a 4/4 Sphinx out of the deal, but it also makes him do it on his turn.
Yeah, and it's an interesting spot for Yuuya. This play is neither right or wrong, because if he feasts on his turn, Mike can't Hour Need, and Mike can attack with the Nimbus Naiad, but Yuuya has the Nimbus Naiad to trade Nimbus Naiads, but that's not necessarily a good thing, because maybe Mike puts another enchantment on one of his guys, although he'd probably put it on the Chimera, and you'd still have to kill the Shipwrecker Kraken.
Right.
So, I mean, there could definitely be a case made for Yuuya feasting on his turn here.
Okay.
But it's a close play, and there's probably positives and negatives to both.
And Yuuya waited out and decided that it was worth the risk here.
And
I mean, because there's also, like, counter spells and stuff, right?
Yeah,
like
and you're giving your opponent the opportunity to make a big mistake, too. I mean, what if Mike plays the land and just taps the 8 and tries to tap the Nimbus Naiad?
Oh, yeah, great point.
Now, I don't see why Mike would do that, but, I mean, he might, you know?
I mean, yeah, I don't see Mike doing that either, but it is absolutely possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen people, you know, they feel that rush of victory, and they kind of just go, I got him. I got him, you know, and it's like, oh, I forgot about that card, so it does happen.
Yeah, and it's not, like, unreasonable for Mike, because it's not like he has anything else to do, really. He has a land and an Hour of Need. But, I mean, then he wouldn't even be able to hour need. And, I mean, if...
That's fairly disastrous, right?
Yeah, and Yuuya's at... And he's still at 14, so it's not like he's really worried about Yuuya's next attack. So you really shouldn't do that, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's pretty good for you if Yuuya just chumps here and takes 3. I see no reason to tap the 8 mana. Looks like Yuuya waiting as long as possible before Feast of Dreams, eh? Which, I mean, is correct if you're going to not do it on your turn.
Good.
Interestingly, Mike
so
didn't even think about making 1 4/4 flyer there.
No, he didn't. That's really weird.
Yeah, I mean, he has the opportunity to possibly make 2, but you're only turning a 3/4 into a 4/4, and he would have gotten a scry. I mean, I guess he wants to put Yuuya in a worse position, doing an end of turn or something. And it's going to work out because Yuuya's going to sip that Pre-Saint Chimera. Yeah,
right.
And now Mike's going to get him.
Make 2 4/4. So, yeah, Mike Sigrist must have seen this type of play coming, and he has almost locked up game 2 here. He's going to be able to get Yuuya down to 2 here and force a chump block,
right,
thanks to the 2 Sphinxes that are going to be left over here. He does get a scry as well. Did he scry?
No. I'm at 12, he's at 6.
I didn't see him scry.
Well, certainly
He
optional.
did scry? All right, Rashad says he saw him scry. Okay.
Yeah, and, you know, Yuuya probably is not going to be able to stop both of those and win both those Sphinxes. But as you saw, this game kind of got significantly closer, I think, than it needed to be. So, yeah, I'm still not really a fan of that Nimbus Naiad on the Shipbreaker Kraken.
No, I mean, you map that potential disaster plan out. It looks like Mike Sigrist has avoided it. He has indeed. He's going to get a game 3 here and see if he can become a GP champion. Guy that's been around forever. I think this is his 2nd GP top 8. East Coast regular, friends with a lot of the old school players. You called him Siggy?
Siggy.
That's his nickname?
I don't know if that's his actual nickname. I pretty much nickname everybody. Like, I call Kibler Kibs.
Kibs.
I'm not big on long names.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call him Sigrist. It's 2 syllables. So is Siggy, I guess, but it's shorter and catchier.
Yeah. And it looks like Mike's showing off a little bit here.
Yeah, no, I remember Mike from back in the day. Just a regular team drafter, just a Northeasterner. You know, whenever we came up to Boston or New York for a Grand Prix or a Pro Tour, he was around. You know.
Uh huh. Now you've seen a lot more of the cards, and you've had a good chance to see a good chunk of the matchup here. What do you make of it as we head into Game 3? Who do you like?
I mean, Yuuya has situational removal. Mike's got creature enchantments and some big creatures and stuff. So I really think it could go completely either way. I really think it's just going to come down to things like whether he's able to feast away the threat that's beating him or not. I mean, as you saw in a game like that, regardless of whether it was a mistake or not, you could easily end up in a position where, you know, Sigrist has to enchant something, and then Yuuya can feast it, or in a position where Sigrist doesn't have the enchantment and is beating down with unenchanted guys, and the feast is dead.
Right.
You could easily end up in a position where he's able to Nyxborn Infusion away one of the better flyers or the Crowan Conscriptors.
Yeah, Crowan Conscriptors.
Yeah, and you know, maybe Nyxborn Infusions that guy away and wins, or maybe Nyxborn Infusion can't take out some creature that has a Fearsome Temper on it or something, and then Yuuya loses. The key thing I think we want to look for is how Yuuya's removal lines up with Sigrist's threats.
Yeah. Now, is Sigrist going to make adjustments to that? Like he saw the Feast of Dreams there. Like, does he take out enchantment creatures? Does he just play carefully where he's much more likely to just play like a bestow creature on its own as opposed to bestowing it?
Yeah, I mean, if you know, every game kind of determines what you have to do. Like, if you're up as much as he was, then you probably should be doing that. If it's a tighter game, you may not have that luxury.
Okay.
It's really going to come down to, you know, the draws and the way the cards line up against each other.
Right. Let's take a look. Magic Pro Tour, Magic 2015, the Pro Tour. It is August 1st through 3rd. This year, that's a little over a month away. It's in Portland, Oregon, and it's going to be standard constructed and Magic 2015 booster draft. I'm excited about that, but the standard is going to be interesting too because we have a huge standard environment there.
Yeah.
We get both core sets and 2 full blocks. That's about as big. That is as big as they get these days.
And it's really nice because with 2 standard Pro Tours a year now, it could feel repetitive, but it won't. But it's a completely different standard format.
Totally. See if M15 shakes things up for standard there. And it looks like he's done some pretty extensive sideboarding here. I saw him put in 3 different cards before, and now a couple of more. One thing that you'll see high-level players do that you rarely see your everyday player do is change their mana base after sideboarding as well. They'll adjust, put in a couple of islands for a couple of swamps if they're bringing in a bunch of blue cards or whatever.
Yeah, I'm really big on boarding one land in and out. I think you often need one less land on the draw than on the play.
So what's the theory behind that?
I mean, you have an extra card on each of your turns when you're on the draw.
So you're more likely to hit your land drops?
Yeah, so like I'll frequently board in the 18th land when I'm on the play, and board it, whether I start 18 or 17, I'll frequently board up or down one land so that I have 17 when I'm on the draw and 18 when I'm on the play. It's not always the case. I mean, it depends on whether your deck needs 18 on the play or not. But
would you say
it
your average curve limited deck does? You got some 2s, you got a bunch of 3s, some 4s, some 5s, maybe a 6-drop or 2. If you're on the draw, if you're on the play, would you prefer to have 18 lands in a deck like that, or is it when the curve gets high that you want?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to prefer low curve and prioritize cheaper cards, so my average deck probably doesn't, but a lot of people's average limited deck probably wants 18 on the play.
Okay.
I mean, I don't generally like to have 7 drops in my deck. I don't even really like to have more than 1 6-drop in my deck. I'm pretty big on, maybe 2 5s, 1 6, But if you end up in a spot with 3 or 4 5 drops, 2 6 drops in your deck or something, you probably want 18 lands on the play. You can't really be missing land drops and holding these power cards and expect to win.
Right. All right. Looks like Yuuya's taking a look at his opener and he's kept it, even though it has an Eater of Hope in it. you don't call that a direct mulligan, but that thing's not doing anything for quite a while here. Is that a Triton Shorestalker again? That thing just keeps showing up in the feature match area.
Yeah. Well,
and it's going to die.
Siggy realizes he's the aggro deck in this matchup.
Yes.
It's about Yuuya's removal and Sigrist's threats.
I don't know if you saw that, but he just drew Ordeal of Perforos. That would have been nasty, but Yuuya had none of it and killed the Shorestalker. He knew he was going to take 5, 6 damage from that thing.
And when I said I thought it would come down to Yuuya's removal and Mike's threats, I meant Mike's good threats and Yuuya's good removal. I didn't mean Yuuya having Viper's Kiss for Triton Shorestalker on turn 1. But the game, for all we know, could have come down to that. I mean,
absolutely.
There's a lot more Magic to be played, but if Yuuya did not have that Viper's Kiss, I mean, that would be what? A 4/4 unblockable? You'd be at like 10 already?
Yes, it would have been. And even just left unchecked, it would have done 5 damage or something, maybe even 6, maybe even more. All right, this is a big one for Yuuya Watanabe, though. He is going for returns here, spiteful returns on Grim Guardian.
I'm not sure what Sigrist is thinking about. I guess he might just be thinking whether he's going to Uberst it after it bestows it or not, because you don't want to give away what you have and necessarily think end of turn. But I mean, if you Uberst it in response, that would be really shocking, considering you can make him pick up the spiteful return also. And I don't see why you wouldn't want to do that.
I mean, he would take 1 extra damage. That seems like a small price to pay.
I mean, it's 4 more mana to rebestow that guy again, and Yuuya isn't exactly a beatdown deck. It would have no creatures in play.
Right, no creatures, no board at all. He did do it in response. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess he feels like he can blank the 1/1 in play, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's got creatures to deploy. I just, I would rather make him spend another 4 again.
By the way, Sigrist, I like what he did. I'm not sure if it's main deck. I can try to take a look here. In fact, I can just take a quick look.
Oh, the Shore Thief?
No, not the Shore Thief. He brought in a Stymied Hopes. When you see 7s and 6s from your opponent, Stymied Hope gets a lot better.
Yeah, and they probably brought in the Shore Thief too.
I'm sure he did, yeah.
And yeah, that's a great sideboard plan. You're on the play against a slower, more controlling deck. You bring in your Triton Shore Thief and your Stymied Hopes. I like it.
Actually, the Shorestalker, by the way, and that's actually main deck. He mains that one, yeah. Him and Christian Calcano both playing blue-red, and Calcano, we saw him play that earlier too. So
well, I'll tell you what.
I'm not even going to try it.
Yeah, I don't draft a lot of blue-red, and I don't draft a lot of Shorestalkers.
Yeah, sometimes I come home from a GP and I'm like, I haven't thought of that yet. I'm going to try that. That is not what I'm going to go for, but it did draw a removal spell here.
Oh, I like the board in this matchup. He mained it, but I would probably board it in this matchup when I'm on the play, but I'm not a huge fan of 1-mana 1/1 in general.
Okay. And there's Ordeal of Perforos on Cyclops of One-Eyed Pass, and he's going to attack with it because now it's got 3 toughness. A little bit risky there as Yuuya had Feast of Dreams mana up, but Mike decided he needed to go for it, and it looks like it's paid off because Yuuya doesn't have it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just play around everything in the dark. Like, I know last game I'm like, play around Feast, play around Feast, play around Feast, but the thing is, last game Mike was up so much that he could easily play around Feast.
Right.
In this game, you can't just give Yuuya a Feast. There's no reason to based on the plays made. So, I mean, at this point, it's pretty straightforward. Like, Yuuya's seen, maybe a third to 40% of his deck, those are the odds he has Feast.
Right.
Maybe down a little bit if he had a good opportunity to use Feast, but he really didn't. Feast would probably just be sitting in his hand. So yeah, basically there's like a 1/3 chance that he has Feast and a 2/3 chance he doesn't.
Right. Oh, this is. I think, does he have Spiteful Blow in his hand now?
He has that too.
Is that what he has?
No, I think it's just an Ixborn.
Oh, it's an Ixborn Eidolon. Never mind.
I was like, oh, Sip of Hemlock, Eater of Hope. You wanted to just throw a Spiteful Blow into?
Yeah. Now, Mike Sigrist is in an interesting spot here, too, because he has Stymied Hope's mana up, but he's also got Hour of Need mana up if it came to that, though you got to figure that the Cyclops isn't his favorite target for Hour of Need here.
You think that Eater of Hope's going to get Stymied Hopes for the win?
Yeah, I certainly could see it.
It's pretty likely the way this game's playing out.
Stymie the Eater of Hopes? I don't know what... you're the flavor judge. What?
Oh, I didn't mean flavor-wise. I just meant that Yuuya's on 6 this turn. He has like 1 card in hand Eater or 2 cards in hand a land and Eater. So it seems very likely that he may slap that down on turn 7 right into Stymied Hopes.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it'll also come down to whether Mike leaves the 2 up for it or taps out. It wouldn't necessarily be wrong to tap out, just like he had no reason to put Yuuya on Feast, he has no reason to put him on Eater.
No, now if he's got a land drop here, he's got a pretty nice play. He's got Storm Chaser Chimera, and he can leave up the Stymied Hopes. If he doesn't, he's going to have to maybe leave himself open or play a Nimbus Naiad or something.
Yeah, I don't think he has the land, so I think now you do bestow the Nimbus Naiad on that Cyclops.
And just get in there for $1 million?
Yeah, I mean...
Puts him on a 1-turn clock.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And the Eater might not even be big enough to stop that anyway. It's 5, 7, 8, 9 to 5 damage. I mean, to putting Yuuya to 5 life. I mean,
here he is. He's going for it. I mean, there's nothing in black that can, well, actually, there is.
Yeah, and this time I've got no
There's Eye Gouge, but he obviously doesn't have that. So
I've got no criticisms here. This is the right play.
I like it.
Yeah. It's just so much damage. You already know he doesn't have Feast. He would have feasted it already. He's not going to be that greedy.
Right. Eye Gouge would have been sweet, though.
Yeah.
All right, so Yuuya Watanabe drops down to 5. He attacks with both of his creatures, hits for 4 damage, 5 damage, 6 damage.
6 damage.
And there's Eater of Hope as he casually passes the turn back here.
But that Eater is just a chump blocker, right? Or no, maybe it can trade.
It's 2, 4, 5, 6.
No, it's just a chump blocker.
It's just a chump blocker.
And that's why I have
it's going to be 7 by the time it attacks,
Hey,
too.
I finally hit 7. I'm going to play my most powerful card. Oh, wait, it's a 5/4. It's not even big enough to stop something on board.
That's right. So Yuuya Watanabe.
The only real decision for Mike here is whether he wants to deal the 3 with Ordeal of Purphoros to Spiteful Returned or to Yuuya. Because if he puts Yuuya to 2, that means the Nimbus Naiad is lethal. But if he doesn't, then the Spiteful Return is off the board. And he's facing 6 and he's at 11. So, I mean, I'm not sure if he's thinking, well, I might rather remove the Spiteful Return or I might rather put Yuuya to 2 so that the Nimbus Naiad will kill him should Yuuya find an answer to the Cyclops.
So the Eater hopes a 6/4, but it still doesn't matter.
It's a 6/4?
Yeah, but because the Cyclops of when I pass is going to be at 7.
Yeah, it's going to be at 7 anyway.
So we're still in chump block mode here.
Right. So, I mean, I assume this is what Mike is thinking about, whether or not he's going to deal the 3 with Ordeal to Yuuya or to Spiteful Return. And both are reasonable options. I kind of like dealing the 3 to Yuuya because, I mean...
Because then it just makes like almost anything he plays lethal here.
Yeah, it makes the Nimbus Naiad lethal. Like if Yuuya draws Sip, he still loses because the Nimbus Naiad kills Yuuya on his next turn.
Right. Same thing with the Storm Chaser Chimera, which you also have.
The only... I know he has Hour Need, so I don't know if he even needs to do that, though. But, I mean, I don't know. The Spiteful Return really isn't scaring me. If I'm Mike, I'd probably go ahead and deal the 3 to Yuuya and then just drop the Warhound as a 2/2 with 3 mana open. So I can Hour of Need, or I can Stymied Hopes.
Right. So he does, in fact, take out the Spiteful Return.
Yeah, but I don't hate this play or anything. Like, it was a close play.
Sure.
Definitely, there are advantages and disadvantages to both.
Right. So this is a huge draw set for Yuuya coming up as he's at 5. Do you like Storm Chaser Chimera here? Do you like playing out Mogus's Warhound plus?
Yeah, I like Mogus's Warhound because you have Hour of Need open. He has Hour of Need in hand, right?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, so now you have the ability to kind of dissolve the board and make multiple flyers with Yuuya at 5 life.
I think Yuuya drew a Pain Seer here, and I think this is going to be it. I think Mike Sigrist might be on the verge of winning a Grand Prix, and from a really tough opponent too. Meanwhile, going through the motions here, Yuuya Watanabe. He's going to attack for 3 damage, and he's going to play Pain Seer and ship the turn back with 5 mana up, but he's got a land in hand.
Yeah,
he's just you know, it's the finals. He's gonna make sure
yeah,
that
well, this
Mike
is
goes through
you know,
it.
a spot where I would concede because you could easily have one remove or one bounce or whatever that you just drew.
Totally.
Though
now, that doesn't really change Mike's play, though, right?
No, it
of
seems,
just turning sideways
yeah, it
here.
seems very likely that Mike is going to attack.
Protect.
Says go to attacks, send in the team, and it's an island. Yuuya Watanabe has to extend the hand. Mike Sigrist is our champion here in Washington, D.C. The grizzled veteran gets there. Good for him. A big round of applause for him over there in the